kind of backgrounds and settings, which is very interesting. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm very grateful to Mrs. Phoebe Cleland and Professor Stuart Rost, who make this my third visit to Australia and into Brisbane come true. And first of all, I want to apologize because I'm not a native speaker and my English isn't very well. So I try to be as clear as I can, but I really wish that you will ask if you didn't understand something or if there was some issues that I was talking about and you didn't kind of want to have some more information or something wasn't enough clear. I pretty like and appreciate that. So, I was asked to talk about the topic physical education in early childhood education and care. But before I go to the content, actual content, I shortly visit with you where I came from. I came from Finland, from minus 30 degrees to plus 30 degrees last Saturday, trying to live here, but it's getting better all the time, I promise. But I have to have some rest every now and then. But I just sat with some other lady here and she was also quite far away. She had arrived a little bit earlier, so. Well, this is my country. Has anyone visited Finland? Two? Oh, where was that?
Helsinki.
When was that?
A couple of years ago.
Okay, so you know a lot of that.
It was summer. It was 32 degrees.
Okay, the change wasn't that huge. Okay, we are a small nation with 5.5 million inhabitants, and basic information about childcare. We have approximately 70% of 0 to 6-year-old children are in daycare, and children are in groups of 0 to 3 and 3 to 5-year-olds, and there's 1 adult for 7 children required. And almost all 6-year-old children are in preschool, which 1-year school before obligatory schooling which starts at the age of 7. And the most known characteristics of my country are maybe the 4 seasons. We have very cold winter. We can have very cold winter. At the moment we're having that cold winter in Finland. And when it turns to spring, the nature looks very different, as you can see. And in the summer, we might have plus 30 degrees. And when it turns to autumn, the nature becomes very colorful and very beautiful, as many of you might know. And here's the typical kindergarten and preschool environment. These 4 pictures are from preschool yard. I assume that these photos have been taken in the spring, right after the winter. And this is my faculty, University of Jyväskylä, Faculty of Sport and Health Sciences. It was designed by most known Finnish architect Alvar Aalto. It's very beautiful building. And then I proceed to actual contents. I'm going to speak about 5 topics. The importance of physical activity. What are the fundamental motor skills? How are fundamental motor skills developed? And we, as many of us are early educators, what we need to know when we promote skill development in our setting, and how can we plan physical activity, or how we should plan physical activity and physical education in early childhood education. Would you like these kind of topics? Now let's see what happens. Okay. The first, I start with a short video which explains, I think explains quite well why physical activity is important. And I hope that I can find this link from here. And start.
Just press allow. Thanks.
I probably would make a time machine. I would make medicine for the sick. I'd probably invent something new. 我会引导5个种玩意。I could have it next 5 years so that is it 5, right? 5 years. It's a long time.
I would try to fix everything that is bad.
I would bring my uncle back because I miss him very much.
I would get more hamsters.
I would probably want to go looking for dark matter. I think I'd go looking for aliens. If I could live an extra 5 years, I was thinking about making like a helicopter, like a wooden helicopter. But I don't have any wood.
I would like to help the moon sometime.
I'd probably teach my sister not to hate Gina. I would really try to invent a machine that lets you run at light speed. If I have 5 more extra years to live, I would be the boss of all the chipmunks. If I did nothing to do either to the solar, I don't really know. I think I'd do anything. Why are you asking me that?
I think that video explained quite well why physical activity is important. Then some definitions. What is physical activity? A scientific definition for physical activity is that it is any bodily movement produced by skeletal muscles that results in energy expenditure.
So this is, when we first came, this is where it still looks like you did it back in 2005.
Sorry, this wasn't part of the presentation. Yeah, and you can see physical activity, a child's overall behavior. I like that definition. And in a small child physical activity, it often occurs through play. And play is multidimensional, and it varies by intensity. What are fundamental motor skills then? Simply, the scientific audience conclude that they are tools to be physically active. Children and we, all people, need to learn fundamental motor skills to be physically active. And then, how fundamental motor skills develop? Early childhood, which can be defined from the years 2 to 6 years old, is when children develop a variety of fundamental motor skills if they are engaged in developmentally appropriate practice experiences. And some background for motor skill and fundamental motor skill development. The infant reflexive behaviors are the precursors of the development of these fundamental motor skills. And many early reflexes are related to infant survivals. Here are some examples mentioned, and also other reflexes which appear for a certain time period. They serve as the precursors of voluntary movements, and they are actually a function of measuring cerebral cortex. And these reflexes, which are here as an examples, are maybe very familiar for many of you because you are also mothers of children. But the main point is that these reflexes serve as precursors for these fundamental motor skills as well. And then when a child proceeds to voluntary movement development period, reflexes and rudimentary movements of infants and toddlers, they make children able to explore the potential of their bodies as they move through space, which is locomotion, as they have increased control over their musculature in opposition to gravity, which means stability or balance, and as they have increasing ability to make controlled contacts with their environment, for which they need manipulation. And perceptual development is intrigued with motor development, and it makes possible to control voluntary movements. And when children progress this developmental process, voluntary movements turn into learned skills. And perceptual motor skills were intrigued in motor skills. And what is important to remember that what are the perceptual motor skills? It's quite difficult terms, but perceptual motor skills consist of three important things, which is body awareness, which refers to capacity of a child to discriminate among her body parts and the various dimensions of her body. The second thing in perceptual motor skills is spatial awareness, which means that children are able to discriminate their body parts and the various dimensions of the body in relation to external space and objects. And when they are going to do this in an adequate time structure, the movements start to become more fluent and fluent. What are then the fundamental motor skills? In physical education literature, fundamental motor skills are divided in three categories of movement: stability or balance skills, locomotor skills, and manipulative skills. Some may also call this object control skills. What stability skills then mean? It means that one is able to gain and maintain equilibrium in relation to force of gravity in a static posture or in dynamic activity. Simply it means that if I stay here, my center of gravity is here on my leg, and if I move my center of gravity, it moves away from there. And when I'm able to do this controlling movement, this is already a dynamic balance skill. Okay? Well, a dynamic balance skills are the static balance skills are, for example, bending, stretching, twisting, turning, reaching, standing on one foot. Handstand is a very difficult, demanding static balance skill. And dynamic balance skills are all the aforementioned ones while moving, also falling, landing, raising, stopping, dodging. Anybody know what dodging means? Yes, it's a part of the game. For example, walking on a beam and cartwheel are very demanding dynamic balance skills. And we as educators, we are important to know when we promote children's stability skills to let child experience static balance positions on different surfaces. I'm sure that you have in your childcare setting floor, you have grass, you have sand, don't you? Uneven and inclined surfaces, etc. Anybody has snow, ice, we have also these. To let child experience a lot of static balance position in different surfaces. And for promoting dynamic balance experiences. Let a child feel different dynamic balance experiences, starting with simple positional changes like walking well or raising up. And then when you see and when you observe progress, combine this activity to other movements. For example, start walking on the floor by holding a child's hand, and then same without holding a hand, and then proceeding to different kind of surface. This is how simple it is. It's not more complicated than that. Locomotor skills then are the skills to move from one point to another. Rolling, walking, running, leaping, jumping, hopping, skipping, sliding, and galloping. Skipping, yeah, was it correct? Yeah, sliding, or leaping, was this leaping? Sliding, yes, sorry, and galloping, for example. Manipulative skills. Cross-motor whole body skills. A child or we can manipulate with every part of our bodies, in which force is imparted to or received from objects, equipment and apparatuses, such as rolling, rotating, pushing, pulling, throwing, catching, punching, striking, putting, kicking, dribbling, I'm trying to demonstrate that that may not be correct, and trapping or collecting. But what is important to remember that cross-motor manipulative skills don't develop until stability and locomotor skills have become automatic. So the certain ways has to be learned before these more complicated fundamental motor skills can be learned. That's why we have to progress very slowly and let children repeat the same tasks again and again. We should let a child manipulate different kinds of objects: soft, hard, light, heavy, hairy, symmetric, bizarre objects, equipment and apparatuses. And as I already said, let a child repeat the same task again and again. You can see the smile from her face when she keeps repeating, and her intrinsic internal feedback gives that, okay, when I throw like that, when I throw like this, it starts to go even more fluently and fluently. And now we should not stop this activity or just let it continue. And when we see that, okay, maybe she's now ready to go a step further, we can change the object, but keep the activity the same. This is how simple it is. And just one slide about that cross-motor manipulative skills are prerequisite for development of fine-motor manipulative skills. To be skillful cutter or to be skillful drawer, you need to have good cross-motor manipulative skills. Now I ask you, when you think of your setting where you are working at, or if you think a situation where you can see wristband children playing outdoors or playing or living their everyday life, what kind of fundamental motor skills they need? Walking, running, jumping, throwing, catching, kicking, striking. What else? If you want to tell some examples from what you observed today.
Lifting?
Lifting. Okay. Anything else?
Climbing.
Climbing. Okay. What is pushing? Okay. Actually, when we start to think very carefully, many activities in daycare center involved fundamental motor skills, wasn't it? And when children progress towards major fundamental motor skill pattern, when they get enough developmentally appropriate practice, they start to develop specialized movement skills, which are fundamental motor skills or combinations of those applied to a sport-related activity. For example, learning to walk is needed before you can learn skiing, dancing, skating or swimming. Here you can see that this boy is actually walking on the skates in ice. On ice. This is actually from Jyväskylä, from the city where I live, or town where I live, I should say. Well, what we should know when we communicate with children in physical activity or physical education situation. We should keep the communication very simple. It would be good if it would be expressive and enthusiastic, yes. And if we know the children in our setting so well that we can read their feelings and alertness, and when we communicate, we should concentrate on verbal instruction. Who can do? I can do. Try how you can catch a ball. And roughly, we can divide the different types of interaction when organizing movement experiences is that we either teach, instruct, guide, and correct, which is usually understood as physical education, but physical education is also such that we just organize and have planned the circumstance and give a certain stimuli to children and let them play in physically active manner, and we may participate in their play. And play here translates as a game, so play is same as game that we could have planned, or play can be also free play, which is just not planned. But physical education and physical activity is embedded in everything, or it can be. And then shortly about planning physical activity and physical education. Usually, preschools, daycare centers and other early education settings should have a plan for physical activity and physical education. 3 kinds of plans. Year plan, in which we can use of different seasons, environments, cultural festivals and events. We should have a season plan for a month or for a week, in which we realize which different fundamental motor skills we are going to instruct children during the instructive lessons. And we have also planned the free play sessions. Maybe even what kind of stimuli we are going to give children in those free play sessions to promote their skill development. For example, if we have a theme for promoting children's locomotor skills or jumping and hopping skills during this week, we can kind of fix the environment in such a way that it tempts children to do certain kind of activities. Yes. And then we have a lesson plan. And then some things about planning physical education lesson. We should make sure that availability of spaces, equipment and apparatuses are okay. And before the actual lesson, we should decide which fundamental motor skill will be practiced and how we are going to do it. Which teaching methods and teaching styles we gonna use. Unfortunately, in this presentation, we have not enough time to tell about different teaching styles, which is very suitable for early childhood physical education. But maybe in the next seminar I will talk about that. Would be an important and interesting content as well. But what is, I almost would say, is most important, to let children be physically active as much as possible, even if it's instructive physical activity. Meaning, for example, that if you are practicing some skill, let's do it all children together rather than standing, waiting, own turn. You mean maximizing the physical activity behavior of all children. It doesn't demand much, just small clicks in ways of thinking and organizing. We also should encourage vigorous activity. And when we observe and see what is happening there, we should observe and decide how and which things we are going to give feedback, and how do we encourage less physically active children to participate in this game. It's not very easy always. And when we think the actual physical education lesson, the length of the lesson could be, depending on child's developmental level and child's age, it can be from 20 to 40 minutes approximately. It consists of 3 different parts. The first is start, which it includes 1 to 2 simple plays or games. Then we proceed to actual practicing period, and we have planned a certain kind of skill practicing, games and plays. For example, today we're gonna practice different kinds of jumping on different kinds of overhand throwing or so on. And in the end, there could be a simple game of play and stretching or relaxation. And what would be very optimal would be that if you have a certain theme for promoting certain fundamental motor skill during this practice session, you can somehow incorporate or put it also in the start and the end place. Design the whole lesson in such a way that the skill, that children can repeat the same skill in different contexts. That would be optimal. And when children are doing these organized or unorganized plays and games, when we give instructions, we first should explain or demonstrate what we are going to teach. Today we are going to jump many different ways. In addition to verbal instructions, we can use task cards, pictures, images, screens, whatever you have in your setting. We should also think what kind of voice we are going to use. Today we are going to jump, or are jumping, or are we really enthusiastic as we usually are? And how do we get a place when we give instructions? How do we get a place is even more important when we demonstrate. For example, a skill practicing game. It's very important to solve the task. Very important to solve the correct way of performance. You can also solve the incorrect way, but the correct way, it's important that it's demonstrated. If you don't do it by yourself, you can obviously ask other children, use pictures, computers, and every kind of other equipment or helpers for that. Important to think if you're, for example, outdoors and you're gonna demonstrate how we are gonna jump in the certain area, it's important to demonstrate in such a place that all children can get a clear view what they should do. But we can also use other senses for demonstration. If you catch this, feel. How does it feel? We can use kinesthetic sense, hearing when we demonstrate, not only vision. And then when we give feedback for children, children use internal feedback. It comes through the kinesthetic channel. It simply is that kinesthetic feedback is just, I just simply know what my hands are doing when I'm walking. That's one way to explain what is kinesthetic feedback. Or when I'm riding a bicycle, my kinesthetic feedback tells me how my legs and how my hands are going when I'm doing this cycle. No, I'm not cycling, doing this cycling movement on my bike. Children use this kinesthetic sense as well. But we can also give external feedback by using verbal feedback, but also using other kind of feedback. For example, videoing or using pictures that, hey, when we tried this hopping, did you look at like this picture or did you look at this picture? Look like at this picture. You can just use your imagination. It's not always the way which you think first. That's good to remember. And here, last, I wanted to collect some important fundamental motor skills. And here are the age when they usually emerges, and then when a child should have attained the major skill pattern. Walking, which usually start developing first. Proceeding quite quickly to running. Jumping with both feet. Jumping with one foot. Throwing with both hands. Throwing with one hand. Catching with both hands. punching a ball with both hands, punching a ball with one hand, kicking and striking. And if we go back about the classification of fundamental motor skills, I mentioned that you have to learn certain stability and locomotor skills before you can learn major cross-motor manipulating skills. And here when you look at the age ranges when children achieve the major skill pattern, you can see that cross-motor manipulating skills such as kicking and striking developed later than the locomotor and stability skills. And here I just wanted to pick up three very useful readings. The first one is an article, but it's not too scientific article. It explains quite well how we use constraints, how we can make our setting in daycare or childcare setting such that it helps children to develop a variety of fundamental motor skills. And then these two are the books which are basically the knowledge where my lecture, the contents where our lecture comes from these, and of course research which we have done with our colleagues. And I don't remember if I mentioned in the beginning, but my own research area is fundamental motor skill development during early childhood, meaning ages 3 to 6 years old. And at the moment, just shortly to tell you, at the moment I'm I'm collecting a direct observation data where I have videoed children in a preschool yard when they are playing freely with other children, and I'm observing from the videos that how much each child spend time in different physical activity types during these free play sessions. And it has been very interesting. I'm waiting for the next data collection, which I hopefully can do in Finland when we have snow in the yard, because the last data collection I did in the autumn when the ground was dry, or it was raining, but there was no snow. And then I have planning, I'm gonna collect the third part of the data when it comes springtime, and the last part of the data when it turns to summer. And I'm gonna observe all the same children. So I'm gonna spend many hours in the daycare center's yard with playing children or being one part of the action there. And I wanted to tell you about this because if somebody got interested in this, it would be wonderful to compare children's outdoor free play in Australia and Finland and look at what children's physical activity types are doing free play in this kind of very different environments in a kind of typical early education setting. So come to shake my hand and say hello if you get interested. I'd be very glad to cooperate.